I was going to go easy on you, not to hurt your feelings.
You f***ing irritate the shit out of me!
I'm only going to get this one chance. It's just a feeling I've got. Like something's about to happen, but I don't know what.
All I hear, go get the money. So I go get it. Hate means I do something right. So I'ma let.
Hey, what's going on, LinkedIn peeps? Let's hope this works. I had some problems bringing you the live at 11 o'clock. Like I said I was going to. LinkedIn Live went down. But I am in, and it is working. I am pumped. Welcome to episode 12 of Gap Sell Keenan. And here's the deal. I am going to let a real salesperson sell to me. And if they can find a problem, and they can solve it, I will actually buy it. But they have to deal with my critique and criticism. So I am going to bring in Thomas Harbs here in a second. And we're going to see how Tommy can do trying to gap sell me. So let's see what we got. And Tommy, welcome, baby. Welcome.
Thanks for having me on, Keenan. Happy Tuesday. Appreciate the opportunity to have a chat with you.
I got you, baby. I got you. I'm excited to see what you got. See what you can make happen.
Excellent. Hey, Keenan, when we chatted earlier, when we tried to get this going, we were talking a little bit about skiing, and you're still doing that, right? If you don't mind me asking, how many feet have you skied so far this year?
That's a great question, and I could probably answer it. Watch this. Vale's gonna like this. Although I can tell you, I've done. Boom! I've done. In Vail alone, 250,000 vertical feet in 21 days in the mountain. I'm getting lazy. I'm doing less per day. But I've also skied Zurich for St. Moritz last week for 4 days. And then I skied this past weekend, I skied Telluride for 2 days. So I'm at, and then week before that, I skied Aspen for 2 days. So I'm actually at 30 or 29 or 30 days. And I probably got about 325,000 vertical feet. Gotcha.
And that's a lot more than I would do, right? Cutting a pizza down the bunny hill. Now you do that, not just because you love it, but I think you do that, at least I guess my question is, you're not doing it just because you love it. I mean, I know you're PSI level 2, right? So better than 99% of probably anybody else. But I think it's important for you, right? Like to keep your skills up and make sure that you're doing what you need to be doing with that? Actually,
I chose not to teach this year. First year in 15 years, I chose not to teach. My daughters are getting better, and they're competing now all over the state. That's why I was in Telluride this weekend and Aspen 2 weekends ago. They're really good. My youngest is really, really good. She's just through her first 360 in competition. So they're mogul skiers. And she threw her first 360 in moguls. And it is a 9-year-old girl. That puts her 3 years ahead of, there's no other 9-year-old girl that she's competed with so far that's thrown a heli or thrown a 360. There's one 10-year-old girl that does, but she's the only one at 9. She placed 9th out of 25 or 30 girls this past weekend. She was the youngest at 9, and the oldest was 15. Most of the girls were 13, 14, and 15, and she was 9, and she plays 9th. So she's awesome. She's borderline phenom. I'm afraid to go that far, but for her age, she is So that's why I stopped teaching. I'm spending more time with my girls.
Yeah, but I think you're still, right? Is it safe to say that, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what I'm hearing is chances are you're probably doing some coaching for her and your daughters while they're on the slopes, right?
I try, yes, but I try to. I don't want to be. What's that dude's name? Baller, big baller. What was his 3 kids' names?
I can't.
Yeah, Lakers. The Lakers. The Ball. Lorenzo Ball, right? Lorenzo Ball.
Okay.
I don't want to be their dad. I don't want to be that asshole. So I let the coach do most of it. Like I know how to ski. I ski well, but I try to okay, you decide, Brad. But yes, I still want to do what I'm doing.
And we kind of talked about that. So like me being a military person, right? I apply a lot of that military training into my business life. And I think you apply a lot of, or at least you mentioned earlier, you also tend to apply some of what you learned through skiing and teaching. It has a lot of the applications within even your own business when you're working with companies. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah. To a certain degree, yeah. Look, I'm big in what's called situational knowledge, and anytime something can provide value in another area, I'll leverage it.
I think that's awesome. And that's what I want to talk to you about, Keenan. So a sales guy. I mean, if sales acceleration is coffee, you guys are the Red Bull. That is the mission statement, right? Which makes sense. Which makes sense when we were getting ready. You're like, hey, let me go grab a Red Bull. But tell me a little bit about that. From what I can see on LinkedIn, there's you, there's Rachel, you've got Danielle, the amazing Danielle. You've got Brady, and I apologize if I said her name wrong.
No, you nailed it. Happy.
Is there anyone else that you have on the team for a sales guy?
We have three more, but I shouldn't say but. We have three more, however, they're independent.
Independent contractors, like 1099.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha. I heard from one of your last live video calls here, the tools that you're using for your sales team, right? I think you're using Salesforce. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I know that you're using Outreach for cadences, running, your steps, things of that nature. I heard that was a bit of a pain in the butt getting that implemented. Is that correct?
Yeah, I love it. It just took a while to get up and get going, but it's great.
Are there any other tools that you're using for the business that you're giving to their team?
Yeah, we use HubSpot, LinkedIn Navigator. I should know our stack. Outreach, Salesforce. I'm sure I'm missing something. Oh, yeah, Canva, BombBomb. Yeah, BombBomb, Canva. I'm sure there's others.
So you're utilizing those tools, not just for your own sales acceleration, but if I'm understanding it correctly, it sounds like, how are you engaging with the people that you're trying to engage with? Now, are those people that are coming in from your internet leads? Are you giving leads to your reps and say, hey, go cold call them, go run your cadences? Tell me a little bit about how you're doing it right now as a sales guy to help you achieve the engagement and reach that you're looking for.
So we leverage Outreach and we build sequences, right? We have sequences for different types of buyers and buyer situations. We use HubSpot and create lots of content where people can download the content. So we get marketing ready leads, if you will, MQLs. Those MQLs then turn into sales ready leads after a certain point of time or score. We leverage a lot of social media. I create tons of content in social media, like everybody watching here, and then people reach out to me or Rachel via DM. We leverage Instagram. I don't know. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, that's a great question. So all of those different channels, like if they reach out to you on LinkedIn, if they reach out to you on Facebook Messenger, if they were to reach out to you on Instagram, none of that information is flowing into your Salesforce unless it's manually put in there, correct? So if I text you, like when we were texting with each other before this call, or if I text with Rachel, or if I engage with her on Instagram, that's not living inside of your Salesforce. Am I correct?
No.
Okay. And I think one of the things that I learned from you a long time ago, you've always been a big believer in, if you can't observe it, then you can't describe it. And certainly you can't prescribe what good looks like and what's working, what's not working. And I remember that from a keynote.
Okay.
So I guess my question is the team text messaging right now within your business inside of Salesforce, or is it just off the cuff using your own personal cell phone?
No, it's off the phone.
Gotcha. So on the cell phones, if I understand that correctly?
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. So you have, if I'm understanding, you have different modes of outreach. You're using Outreach, you're using Instagram, you're using social selling, you're using phone calls, you're using voicemails, emails. I get some of those emails too. Honestly, don't read all of them, right? But I think, we understand how email is. So what is the goal that you have for a sales guy? You have 5 people now, or pardon me, I think you have about 5 to 8 people now. The goal is you get to 10 people, 20 people, 30 people.
Yeah.
And that's a skill. So if I can ask you an important question here, Keenan, why would somebody choose you? Not, Craig Kleeman, not John Barrows, right? Not the Sandler training or Challenger training. Why is it that they're taking gap selling training? Why is it they're choosing a sales guy now?
I'm going to be nice, but I'm not going to be. That's a fucking stupid question. Okay, with all due respect, right? And I'm doing this as a lesson as a salesperson, right? You don't want to ask a buyer why their competition would choose them and make the buyer defend their position, right?
Sure.
You could ask a question like, "What is your major differentiator?" Right?
That makes sense. Yep.
Or you might ask them to say, when you look at your traditional client, what type of people normally gravitate to you and why, right? There's a much softer way to ask that question. And I'm not entirely opposed to that question, but I blurted in now because I think you're way too ahead of the game on that question. Like where are you going with that? No matter what I answered, what were you going to do with that information? I'm going to just give you an answer just for the grins and giggles so you can keep going. But it's the value and the quality of gap selling. It's better. And I love John, so I'm just making up because I don't want John Barrow to think I love John and I know Cleaner. It's the energy of the company and it's the fact that it's a repeatable process that other people have seen tremendous value from. Their numbers are blown up. Whatever.
And thank you very much for the feedback. Here's where I was going with that. And I agree with you 100%. I probably could have asked that. I'm not going from a script here. I'm just trying to have a conversation with you. So I appreciate the feedback. Where I'm going with it is I understand you have a style. I think everybody can see it. And there's people that probably love you for that. So there's probably a large swath of customers that you and Rachel and the team are going after that, Miller Hyman's going after, that Science is going after, that John Barrow's company is going after. And so one of the things that I take away from you, Keenan, in your book, Not Taught, is reach is the most important asset or most valuable asset that you could have. That's one of the things that I think all of us have learned from you. But is it safe to say that it's not just reaching somebody, it's keeping them engaged? So if you're not engaged with somebody that's not loyal to your brand, like you, Keenan, how do you win them versus maybe, let's say, one of your competitors that may be more engaged with them? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. So here's my next piece of feedback, okay? Have you read Gap Selling yet or just Not Taught?
No, I both.
Okay. So here's my question to you and everybody listening, because this is I'm learning through these and all the trainings I do and everything. It's the hardest part for people. What problem are you trying to find right now, Tom?
So the problem that I'm trying to go after, and one of the takeaways that I've always gotten from you, Keenan, is I don't want to make the assumption that I know what the challenges are. When you're talking about management consulting, there's some key things like it's a competitive business, right? Why Keenan, not Corey and Hillman, right? Or why Keenan, or why a sales guy versus XYZ company. Yep. But not only that, once you get those customers, and again, I from experience in working with other management consultants, people like yourself, Keenan, is it's not just keeping those customers. You're going to have people loyal to that brand. How do you keep them engaged? Because what's the next shiny thing?
So you're really attached to the product, which is okay. But even as you're answering my question, you're having a hard time zeroing in. What did you do a pick chart when you read Gap Selling? Did you do a pick chart?
Yeah.
Okay. What problem do you hope that I have that you want to find that I have you can solve?
Gaining more customers.
That's not a problem. See, this is interesting. Everybody pay attention to this. It's not an uncommon statement. When you say something like gaining more, that's not a problem. That's future state, right? Gaining more. So flip it. What's the actual problem?
Losing the current client basis that you have, the hole in your profit bucket.
Okay, so I'll sort of trend in that direction. So if it's losing customers I have, you don't solve that universally, right? You solve that in one particular area. Am I correct?
In keeping them engaged, yes.
Yes, and how do you do that?
Through text messaging.
Okay, so it's not losing customers in totality. It's in a very small area. So more specifically, what problem do you solve and where do you solve it?
So you mentioned that you're text messaging right now, but nothing is inside of your CRM. So my question to you is, do you know if you're texting compliantly? Do you know that text you or Rachel sent could be worth a $25,000 fine? Are you aware of that?
I have no idea. No one's ever called me, not concerned about it. Even if it's something real, it's not even on my radar.
No, understandable. But if, and I didn't do the study, Twilio did the study, Salesforce did the study, 90% of our customers, all of us in business, our customers with a mobile channel are willing to pay us more for our product and service and stay with you longer. They're more loyal to you if you can provide them that mobile brand.
Okay, so you're selling me on a future state again.
Sure.
Right? So I want to coach you to bring me back into a current state. Remember, I have to have some problem or opportunity that I feel like I'm not getting or can't get to before you can get me locked in on, I like where this is going.
Sure. So if I may ask the question, Keenan, what is your current phone call to meeting conversion rate?
Hey, now that's a good question. Phone call to meeting. So do you mean like from an outreach perspective, like how many calls do we make before someone gets back to us?
Yeah. How many calls, I guess maybe I'll more directly, how many calls does it take before you actually connect with whoever that persona is you're trying to connect?
That's a great question. If you're listening, Rachel, send me that because I don't know. I'm gonna flip it from calls to total outreach. Because in a sequence, we'll do an email, we'll do a call, we'll do a LinkedIn, right? So I'm gonna say shit. 10 to 12, I guess. Rachel, if you're paying attention, you know what it is, let me know.
That's not out of the ordinary. Let me ask you another question. How many meetings do you have to run before you finally get that guest, that sale? Let's just simplify it and say, I run X amount of meetings to get one deal.
I think once we get them engaged and they turn into an opportunity, I'm going to throw you a bone here. Our average sales cycle is about 45 days. And depending on the size, it's about 4 or 5 touches, like 4 or 5 meetings. First we go through the discovery, then we offer the solution, then they come back with questions, then we try to find dates, and it moves pretty quickly.
That's good. What's your sit rate?
Our what?
Your sit rate. How many meetings does it take for you to actually, so for example, if you had 10 meetings booked, how many of them actually sit?
Oh, you mean show up?
Yes.
Oh, so I've never heard that term before. Show up? I think, nothing's 100%. I'm going to say like 95. We don't have a lot of people who don't show up.
Okay. Why is that, if I may ask?
I'm going to guess because right now we don't have an SDR team, and so we don't have people running around asking, pounding the phone, trying to get through 100 people a day and just set a meeting for any reason, number one. Number two, gap selling doesn't let you set a meeting around a product. It sets a meeting around a problem. So when we do get someone on the phone, there's an actual specific problem that they want to solve or want to talk about. And so it's really hard for people to abandon a call or not show up when they know the topic of the call is to talk about their problem, not to feel pitched or feel pressured into saying yes for a meeting that they really don't want to take.
Gotcha. And so they're more inclined, because you're focusing on a problem, to show up to talk about those problems or how that fire can be put out. Am I understanding that?
Yeah.
Better?
Yep.
Okay. And do you do any outreach to them for that particular meeting? Like, hey, just a reminder, our meeting's coming up tomorrow, or hey, in an hour, our meeting is coming up?
No, I don't believe so.
And so as you scale, a sales guy, from where you're at right now, I think I saw something, you're trying to hire more people, you're trying to scale more people. From where you are right now, I think you have, great, without knowing what your numbers are, right? As far as conversion numbers, how many touches it took to actually get the meeting.
Wait, I'm going to help you out. I'm going to throw you a bone again. Don't go into the future state. If you just said, I don't know your conversion numbers, ask me again.
Okay.
But what conversion numbers do you want to know?
So I want to know how many total meetings you have to book to get a sale. Like what's your close rate on your meeting?
From first meeting to, It's 38%.
38. So just if I round that off, for every 10 opportunities you have to do business with somebody, you're closing 4 of those opportunities.
Yep.
Why do you think that is?
you got to ask that question different. Why do I think? Because are you suggesting it's low? Or are you suggesting that it's high? Why do I think it's 40%? Like that, I don't know how to answer that question.
I'll rephrase. At 40%, why do you think that number can be higher? 4 out of 10.
40% is pretty good from a close rate. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. Let me ask you another question. Of the 6 that you don't win, what do you think happened in those particular situations that you didn't win the deal? Or maybe I ask differently. What could you have done differently as you look back at the game tape?
Good question. I think we lose for a lot of different reasons. We've lost sometimes. We lost one recently because there wasn't a cultural fit. So half the company absolutely positively loved me. HR got involved, went out and saw some of my videos. Like, there's no way we can bring this guy in. He's not a cultural fit. We'll upset some people. So there's one. Shit happens, right? Other times, they decided not to move forward at all because they just felt whatever particular reason, no decision. Sometimes we lose to the competition. One of the things we're not really losing. One of the biggest challenges we have now is just scalability. We have big companies wanting to work with us, and it's, we're still growing as quickly as we can, but sometimes it's hard to execute. But none of it has to do with communication.
Tom, if you don't mind me asking, you mentioned scalability. If I heard you correctly, that's a challenge. Tell me a little bit more about that. Why is scalability a challenge to you?
Just when someone comes to us and says, "Look, we have 500 people we want you to train," we don't put 500 people in a room. We just won't do that. There's no value in that. So all of a sudden they're looking at us and saying, "Well, wait a minute, you're gonna need to do 20 trainings over a 3-month period, flying all over the country." They're like, that might be a lot for us. They start looking at the price of that and they're like, holy crap. So, we don't have multiple trainers right now that we can split it up and et cetera. So it's just a resource issue. We're selling blew up faster than we think we realized it was gonna.
So, and again, Keenan, not to put words in your mouth, but it almost sounds like it's not just the scalability. You also kind of touched on you don't have enough people. So is hiring and ramping up and
we're doing all that right now.
Even your own company. What are the challenges you're facing with that? Is it not happening fast enough?
Look, it's a good economy. Hiring good people is bad. Difficult. We're super picky, but okay. So here, I think you're off. I think you're moving too far off. Here's my take on what you have for products, and you tell me if I'm wrong. You allow for texting inside of Salesforce, right?
Yes,
Which
sir.
means so that really the true value you bring is another mode to connect with a buyer.
You
right?
are correct.
So I would have stayed on the whole process about what happens when someone doesn't get back with you an email, right? So there's I would have chunked this down into the different stages of the process. I would have first looked at how are you doing the outreach and the cold to get someone on the phone in the first place. Now, do you guys allow integration with outreach that I could add SMS into my cadence?
Yes.
Okay.
Compliant texting in that cadence. Yes.
Okay.
Sir.
Yeah, great. Couldn't care less, but great. Okay, so good. So I would have started there. I would have said, Keenan, walk me through one of your cadences. You told me that you use email, phone call, LinkedIn, etc. Have you ever considered using text? Where do you use text? I told you I get 12 touches. Do you have evidence or data that suggests that SMS gets a better response?
Absolutely. It's got a 50+% response rate.
Okay, so right there, you found a problem. When I said to you it could take up to 10 to 12 touches before someone gets back to us, you said, wait, Keenan, I can give you text messages inside of outreach because you said you don't do that, correct? And I say, yes, I can get you text message inside of outreach, and you can add that to your cadence. Then you could have said, success industry data has shown it's got a 50% return rate. So I believe, you get me thinking, that I can reduce that and get some of these people responding to you before the end of the whole cadence, right? So I would have done that. Then I would have went in and said, okay, Keenan, once you get them in, how many times has someone gone dark? That's a real problem. Like, that's a fucking problem. And if you don't have that in your pick, I think you're missing an opportunity, my man. Like, I think if your response rates are as good as you say, then getting people who go dark to come back is a huge value add for you, and it's a problem that people face. Can you agree with that?
I agree.
So if you can get me to say that people go dark, and that text messaging can get them back at a higher rate than traditional modes, you got my attention again, right? So then you can talk about how you can get when people aren't getting back to your calls and people aren't getting back to your emails. We can show you how text message can get these people back into the fold, or at least get them back in to close the deal and get the opportunity out faster, right? Then you can say, that's two problems I've thrown at you. Now the third one is when you do text and your salesperson's texting, Keenan, do you see any of that communication? No. What happens if that person leaves and they have all this text information with existing clients and or existing prospects that you're trying to close and they leave? What do you do with that? I can't do anything with it. I don't even see it, right? Yep. Then you might even say how much they even text. Well, I don't even know if they text, but so now you get them to text even more. So now I said to you, I can't see it. If they leave, it's a fucking problem, and that doesn't make me comfortable. So now I got 3 problems that you can solve. Yep. And you get me talking about those problems.
And it's all focused on the current state.
Yes, the current state. Right? Yes, then you can start bringing me into the future state. Then you can start challenging. So you can say, Keenan, if you could get X amount, I don't know what the number is, you get X amount of people to respond to you faster and get them out of the pipeline and get them closed. Do you see how that would help you accelerate your growth here? Do you see how that would get you more faster where you want to go? Either I do or I don't, but if I don't, you can walk me through why. But you've got to, everybody listening, you've got to get me connected to a current state problem that I want to fucking solve. You like it talking about look, it sounds dumb and it's a stupid analogy, but if I'm married to the most amazing person in the world, right? And you come at me, you're like, hey man, I can get you a date with Kate Upton, and she's beautiful and she's this and she's a model and she's rich and she's super smart and blah, blah, blah. I don't care, I don't have a problem, right? I'm happily married. So all of this great stuff you're painting in the future is amazing, but I don't have a problem to fill. Does that make any sense?
Makes 100% sense.
All right, because you're like this, so I'm making sure you're a Marine. I know I haven't scared you.
No, I'm paying attention. This is great stuff, and it's I'll tell you, like this stuff I talk about with my team, and to hear the feedback, right? The coaching that you're saying, it's like, gosh, I talk about this, but actually doing it, like it's practice makes. Well, I learned this from you too. Practice makes permanent, not perfect. It makes permanent. That healthy repetition of doing it over and over and over. And those are questions that I would normally ask, but I didn't deliver on those. But let me ask you, if it takes you 12 touches to reach out to somebody, why not incorporate a text on step 3, touch number 3 on day 1, and get an instant?
I am absolutely intrigued. You may make a sale, not on this call, but I am absolutely intrigued because I believe in text messaging, and I believe it's a great way to connect with people. I would have questions around not privacy, but intrusion. Like, I'd have some questions around the impact of someone getting a cold text, you know what I'm saying, in our outreach. So I would want your expertise and guidance, how you would build that into an outreach thing that people don't feel is intrusive and like, what the fuck? Yeah. So I'd have questions around all of that. And so what we earned today is an opportunity to set up another meeting and for us to dig in deeper and see how we could use this and address some of my concerns. Sold on the idea of text messaging. Love the idea that I can get it inside of Salesforce. Love the idea of using it in the sales process.
Yep.
I like the concept of using it in the outreach or prospecting stage, but got a lot of concerns and questions around that. So you want a second meeting. But here's the final piece of advice for you. Do a pick and get better understanding of the actual problems you solve. I don't think you have a clear understanding of that. It is not text messaging. That's not a problem. It is not more sales. It is not a need to engage. Those aren't problems, right? Those are all the impacts of a particular problem. So in my case, from what I've heard, and I'll share more if I learn more, some of the problems you solve are customers going dark, right?
Yes,
Ineffective outreach programs where people aren't responding, right? Low touch responses. And then what was the other one I said? Oh, inability to track and engage with people who are text messaging already. So if you ask a question of someone, is your sales team text messaging with their clients and customers? Like I would literally do this. Is your sales team texting with clients and customers? Yes. Great. How many salespeople do you have? 17. Great. Where are they texting? Are they texting in the outreach and prospecting stage? Are they texting in the early stage of the sales process? Are they texting at the close? Where are they texting? Based on where they told me they're texting, then I'm going to say, let's say they say at the close. Great. Do you see that as the sales manager, sales leader? Do you see what's happening there? No. What do you think is happening at the close? I have no idea.
Yeah.
Would you see value in seeing what your sales team is texting to a buyer at the end of the close?
You know, Keenan, that's such a valid point. Honestly, when I ask that question, I think studies, it's like 20% of sales leaders think that their salespeople are texting. However, if you ask a salesperson that question, it's like 70, 80% are like, fuck yeah, I'm texting. So there's such a huge disparity and nobody knows. So people can't observe it, right? From a management standpoint, if you can't observe, you can't describe, you can't prescribe. And then how can people absorb and apply, right? The best practices to use. And I think, that's a great point I'd love to keep chatting with you about.
Yeah, so dig in there, right? And then I have a whole nother set of questions around if it happens at the beginning of the sales cycle, right? So I think those are three main problems you solve that come out. And therefore you and your sales team, when you get on a phone with someone like me, whether it's a prospecting call, or whether it's a first 15-minute meeting, whatever, you go find one of those three problems and then you define it. And if you can't find the problem, let them go. But all that other questioning you asked me, go watch this again and see how little of that actually got you to get me to a problem. You just weren't taking me down a problem route.
Yep.
Okay.
No, 100%. And I appreciate the feedback. But that's why we have game tape.
All right. Beautiful. So was this helpful?
This was very helpful for me.
Good.
And I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity. I don't know if you want to do this live, but Keenan, for that next meeting, I've got my calendar up. If you can grab yours, we can get that set real quick.
Okay, so Danielle has my calendar. She manages that. So I'd love the enthusiasm. Hit me up on a DM and I'll copy her I'm going to throw it out there to everybody. So just hit me a DM and I'll give you the number or connect you to, and she'll get a set. All right?
That sounds good.
Yes. And so, look, you did it. You got a second meeting. Right? You got a second meeting. You got it because you got a cool technology. You didn't really sell me there, but you got there in the end. So, and everybody else listening, if you want text messaging in your team text messaging, you want to make sure that shit's captured like every other medium your team uses. You might want to call these guys SMS what? Magic.
SMS Magic.
Call them.
Hey, Keenan, can I add? It's not just texting. It's Instagram. It's WhatsApp. It's Facebook Messenger. All in your Salesforce. So I'll leave you with that.
Ooh, look at that. Oh, what about my LinkedIn? Does my LinkedIn get in there too?
Not yet, but we're working on it.
All right. Look, this is an interesting little problem. So learn to problem-centric sell it, bro, and you're going to sell a shitload more. To everybody else watching, thank you for watching. We had a good group today. Listen up. If you want to gap sell me and you have something that can solve a problem I have, I will buy it. But you got to be prepared to be schooled on how to gap sell. All right, everybody. You know what I'm going to say? Thank you, my man, Tommy. Thank you guys for paying attention. Until next time.
Keenan.
Peace. I'm out.
All I hear, go get the money. So I go get it. Hate means I do something.